God bless you for being here today. I want to say a couple things about mothers to get started. Because little Gary was in Sunday school, and the Sunday school teacher asked him, Gary, do you and your family pray before every meal? And Gary said, no, I don't have to. My mom's a good cook. What's the difference between Superman and mothers? Superman's just a hero now and then. Moms are superheroes all the time. There you go. There you go. Okay. I wanted to talk to you about just something that I had been...
Oh, God.
What's wrong?
I didn't put the E in now.
Oh, well, that's all right. Loneliness. Spelled correctly. Okay.
Nope.
Okay, well, that's all right.
Save.
That's all right. Loneliness, or some people call it loneliness. I don't even know how to say it really. But this is kind of a odd statement to make, but attending unity can easily prevent loneliness, and it can if you follow our teachings, but there's more to it than that. So I want to kind of go over, hopefully briefly over, because I just want to kind of explain real quick the types of loneliness, and there are 3 types of loneliness, and here they are. But it's a condition from your state of mind. So we've all experienced loneliness in some extent, but here are the 3 types, and I'll go over them real quick. Emotional, social, and existential. So those are the 3, according to doctors, those are the 3 types of loneliness, and here's the differences between them. Emotional is the absence of a significant other. Now, we've all experienced this. Someone dying, someone moving away can be the same as someone dying, and or loss of communication with someone that we have held dear. We've experienced a lot. There we go. I said that at some point in life. So the next one, our response to is related to our state of mind at the time and moving forward. So if we've been able to, there's a lot of difference. I don't know if you all have experienced this, but in chaplaincy, when Reverend Francie and I, we went through it at different times at the same hospital. Did we go to St. Joe, both of us? Okay. Anyway, at different times, of course, with different people in the hospital. But during chaplaincy, you get to see a lot of people and have transition in this form of life to another form of life. And when that happens, sometimes the people that are close to them get to say goodbye, and sometimes they don't. And there's a difference between the two. If they get to say goodbye to somebody, then sometimes they feel better than if they didn't. They didn't make it in time. They were out of town. They didn't make it back in time, and all that stuff. Social loneliness is a lack of a network of friends, and that can happen to a lot of people. At any time. Once you get out of high school, if you don't stay in touch with all those people, sometimes you don't have a group of friends and all this. And so, hopefully you go along life and either stay in touch with them or get new friends and be able to stay in touch with them. Life changes can bring us a new surrounding. To what value we place in this newness is as old as is important.
You didn't say that right.
I didn't say that right. Life changes can bring a new surrounding to us. What value we place on this newness and the old is important. So if we place, let me explain it then, I guess. You're right. So if we place a large importance, since I said high school, if we place a large importance on our friends in high school and they move off and do some other things, like they will, usually, then, and we're not a part of that, and we have a lot of importance on it, then we can feel lonely for sure, and we can do crazy things sometimes. Existential loneliness is the human condition which expresses the separateness of the person from others. So, like if you are just living your life, you probably wouldn't be in church today if you're existentially lonely, because you feel like you're separate from everybody else. I mean, you're going along in life, and for some reason, whatever has kicked it off, and you may have felt this at some point in your life, you're just so different that nobody else is the same. But usually you don't stay in it. But if you do stay in it, then sociopaths and psychopaths fit in this category. Now, before you say those are really bad, they aren't. It isn't the extreme, but on the minimal, it's not as bad as you think. because sociopaths are someone that doesn't feel like part of society. And it can be extreme or it can be minimal. A psychopath is something that's really got some mental issues. And so they've got different things going on. So far this year, this is what I really wanted to talk about this for today, though, is because so far this year, the mass shooting is defined as 4 people or more getting hurt, shot. But so far this year, there have been more mass shootings in the U.S. than there have been days in the calendar year. And that's just crazy when you think about it. So I'm not making a statement about any type of political deal with that. What I'm making that statement for is, besides it being a fact, is that I want us to recognize that our mental condition, our mental awareness of what we're doing and how we're living life is extremely important, not only to us, but to society. So, I got through all that because that's what I want to get through. You did spell it right there, sweetheart.
I said
You
the
changed
first 2 were
Oh,
not
okay.
right.
A person who feels like they don't belong is not enjoying life, are they? That's a good picture. You know, everybody playing, nobody picks you to play. That's a good picture. In the Twilight Zone, I don't know if you remember, it's good you put it the old one too, because it is the old one. And there was an old Twilight Zone that I don't know if you remember or not. It's one I saw. Yeah, I don't even tell them when I probably saw it because it's probably real old. But anyway, these people in the Twilight Zone, it was a normal family, and they were all, but they were raising this child that looked totally different, looked like an alien. I mean, had kind of like, it was just totally formed different than human beings, and so they were raising it, and trying to be. The family was trying to be nice to it, but the kid went through, they sent it to school and everything, and the kid was being harassed all the time, as you would think, like. Kids can be pretty darn mean sometimes. And so being, he didn't really the kid didn't like being there, could see that he looked totally different, and just was really odd situation for the kid. So as the Twilight Zone, reaches out a lot in things that weren't possible at the time, but the Twilight Zone Earth had gotten into a communication with some other planet that had life on it. And so the 2 planets decided to exchange people as representatives of the other planet. So the kid was the person that they were going to give to the other planet, and so which was odd because that didn't represent what humans looked like. But anyway, as they were switching, this is the end of the Twilight Zone. As they were switching, this poor kid that was going on there, looked totally different. Walked by the other kid that was coming this way, and the other kid coming this way looked like a normal human being.
Oh, wow.
And so they were switching, and, like the kid that they were following, the kid that looked different, said, oh, well, he's going to enjoy life here. But the trick was that the other guy, the guy that was abnormal, was going to enjoy life because he looked like those other people. So anyway, it depends. Why I bring that up is it depends on your perspective of what you're doing. Not only from what you are, but what other people are. And so what your perspective of somebody else is, in other words, if you're making fun of that person for whatever reason, for how they look or whatever, that's not a good choice either. All these conditions can be overcome by feeling love with a sense of security from our church, too. So feeling love and giving love is so important to when we are to our mental state when we are living life. If the kid that I used in the Twilight Zone example was loved by the immediate family, but that isn't enough. We are more than just our immediate family, aren't we? And so when we meet and greet each other, as we do here in church, we should share very nice pleasantries, but also we should share the love each other has for each other. So I want to read you something, a quote from the Bible before I get on to all this other stuff. And this is from Matthew 12:43 through 45, and I really like it. It is from Unity, a Unity minister, but they, what's Mark's? Mark's?
Truth Unity.
Yeah, Truth Unity has created this book, and it's great. It's metaphysically looking at the Bible, the Gospels, and I really, really am enjoying it. And so he sent us a free copy, and I'm sure they're for sale. But anyway, this explains this passage a little bit easier. And so what it says is, this is Jesus talking, when an impure thought, an impure spirit comes out of a person, it goes through, because this is one of those passages that a lot of people just, what? So anyway, when an impure spirit comes out of a person, it goes through arid places, hot, okay? Arid means hot, seeking rest and does not find it. Okay? Then it says, I will return to the house I left. When it arrives, it finds the house unoccupied, swept clean, and put in order. So everybody's left the house. Then it goes, the spirit, goes and takes it with it 7 other spirits with more wicked that are more wicked than itself, and they go in the house and live there. And the final condition of that person is worse than the first. That is how it will be with this wicked generation, is what he was talking to somebody. So when you hear that, you think, oh, that's just kind of an odd scenario, odd statement. But what he's saying is, and metaphysically what that means is that when we have thoughts that are negative in nature, and we try to get rid of them, and yet they pop up to us, the same exact thoughts, or very similar, pop up to us later, and we recognize we haven't got rid of them. Here's why. It's because when we have those thoughts and we say, I don't want to think about that anymore, we can do that, can't we? A lot of us, in fact, have learned denial is very good, which is one of Unity's key teachings. But when we deny something, when we deny a thought because it's not true and it's not truth in our life, we can get rid of it. But if we don't replace it with a positive thought and a positive idea, which is the truth of you, then that old thought can get stronger because you create a vacuum, and something's going to fill the vacuum. Something is going to fill the vacuum. A thought, when you get rid of a thought, something's going to go in there. Because your mind and your body are so strong, your spirit is so strong, it can produce so much. And so when you create that vacuum by denying something, you have to replace it with a key thought that is good. And if you don't replace it with that is good, which is God. If you don't replace it with a God thought, then you can have it, not only that thought, but worse thought come into your mind. And this is one of the things why Reverend Francine and I are always trying to push children to come to Unity Church, because this is something that if you learn at a young age, it can be so much easier to get rid of those bad thoughts that are not true to you anyway. And no matter what the situation is, the bad thought is not a true part of you, because you're created by God, and God is only good. And if you think a bad thought or have somebody try to throw a bad thought at you and you claim it, you don't have to claim it, first of all. Don't claim it, okay? But if you do, or if you think a bad thought, then you need to get rid of that and then get to replacing it with something that is true. Okay, so then, people, and then part of this loving thing is, you can love somebody with all your heart and all your mind, can't you? And you are thinking, oh, this is great, we have this relationship. But that person, no matter how much love you send there, that person has to be open to receive it, don't they? If they don't receive it, it does them no good. But that's on them, isn't it? I'm not saying that you're doing something wrong. That is on them. They have to learn, though. They have to be in an area, and it can take years sometimes. I mean, I tell you, we've experienced so much stuff with different people in our life. You have too, I'm sure. But, I was raised knowing these principles, and, I had always thought that love is enough. As long as you love somebody or something enough, it will, at some point, take it in. And one of the experiences that I've had with another person I got to a point, after years of doing this, got to the point where I said, because I was, hurt by it, because you think you have something. I got to the point where I said, God, this isn't true. Love isn't enough. But that's not true. Love is enough. But if the other person, it has to be a two-way street. You have to be able to accept love. And that way you can give more love, but you have to accept love. So giving love, though, is our responsibility. Accepting love is our responsibility, too. Learning about and this is part of it, learning about your self-worth and believing it is an important step in spiritual growth, thus life. You know, we can do anything we want to in life, yet we can only do as much as we can in life as we imagine we can. Right? If you don't think you can solve the cancer thing, then you'll never solve it, will you? You can give yourself as much impetus as possible, but if you deep down inside have decided you can't solve cancer, then you'll never solve cancer, right? But there's a lot of people that are researching cancer that think that they can solve it, and those are the people that we want to be researching it, don't we? So they will solve it. And so whatever you think about what you can do, what can prevent you or can help you in your spiritual growth or in your understanding of your spiritual growth. Our best days are ahead of us and not behind us. See, we have to know that. We have to know that our best days are ahead of us. No matter what your age is in life, you have to know that your best days are ahead of you. The wonderful thing about growing as a human is, one of the wonderful things about growing as a human is that, you know, as youngsters, as children, we're getting stronger physically and all sorts of things, and we're making changes physically, and it's more about the physical understanding of our body. Well, there's a point where the physicalness, you're not, if you're talking about just strength as far as physical strength, you know, there's a point where you're not as strong as you used to be. And if you haven't learned by then that your mental strength has grown, then you're going to have a little bit of an issue because you're still stuck on relating your identification as the physical strength. So you would need to understand that mentally I'm growing and I can continue to grow, and I shall if I choose to. But our best days are behind us. Our best days are ahead of us, not behind us. But you've had great days behind you, haven't you? Yesterday we had a great day. The boys had a great day. We went and, for boys, we went and I let them sleep late, which they still didn't sleep that late because, you know, they're used to getting up around 6. So they slept around 6:45. But anyway, we got up, had breakfast, and then I took them over to the campus, and they got to, for the first time, and I told Francie we're going to do this, but I didn't really prepare them the best. We went over to the campus, and I let them climb on the dirt pile. That's a boy thing that you have to be able to experience. A kid thing, really. But anyway, so they went up there and did that, and it was great fun. And then we had some lunch, a good lunch for them, what they wanted, and then we went to swimming the rest of the day. And so we had a great day, and I reminded them that it was a great day. And so this morning, when we were going to sleep, this morning I told them we had a great day yesterday, let's have a better day today. And hopefully they're doing that right now, but it's up to them. I want to show you this because Michael J. Fox, probably you know him from a lot of different things when he was younger, but now he has a disease that my dad had, and Parkinson's, and he has it really severe, and but this is what his statement is. Okay, well, he has more than this statement, but it is hard for others and him too. And it is hard if you experienced it, and even if you haven't, I'm sure that if you saw him nowadays, it would be hard to look at him and be with him. Because as humans, we don't like to look at frailties sometimes, and we don't like to think that that we could be that way. But any of us could be that way. And so, but Michael J. Fox, you know, I want you to see what he says about his dealing with Parkinson's.
There had never been a time in your life that wasn't amazing.
Very good life.
It's perverse to say it, but kind of a charmed life.
That's the point. That's the joke. I recognize how hard this is for people, and I recognize how hard it is for me. But I have a certain set of skills that allow me to deal with this stuff. And I realize, with gratitude, optimism is sustainable. If you can find something to be grateful for, then you find something to look forward to, and you carry on.
Write that down. With gratitude, optimism is sustainable.
Now, you and I, at least let me speak for myself. For me,
Take a breath.
For me, it would be hard. Just say that. But he's going through it, and if he can say it, and he's been suffering from this for quite a while, but as you hear from him, he's making it so it's where he's not focusing on the suffering. Do you follow me? And so me saying that is even incorrect. He's suffering from it. I shouldn't say that. But I should glean from his optimism that, anybody can handle whatever they're going through. Because, in my dad's case, it was really unique. I mean, it wasn't, he could get severe like that very easily. But he had some implants in his brain that stimulated him. He didn't get extreme all the time. Now, if he didn't have those implants, he would have been. But still he could get extreme when he ever got upset or nervous about anything. And the interesting thing about that is, whenever I got around him when he was extreme like that, he would calm down. So there are ways that we can deal with things that maybe we are having life that we can handle in a new way if we are open to thinking about it. So we have to be open to it. And I follow Michael J. Fox because I think he's just a great example. Now, is every day good enough where he could say that? Probably not. But, he is doing a great job handling whatever he handles. And in that interview, he even says, I don't know if that interview's aired or not yet, but in that interview, he even says that,
It's on YouTube.
In that interview, he says that, now I forgot what he said. Okay, well, watch it on YouTube. Anyway, loneliness exists to bring us back to center and the things that matter. Because, anybody who's lost somebody to a new experience in life knows that we are going to miss them if we cared for them. Of course we are, but we're missing their physical sense. Their spiritual sense is still with us if we choose to focus on that. And that's what we do need to focus on, is we need to focus on how is this helping me learn things about myself and others. God created you, and so you have a great life ahead of you, and you are worthy of a great life. And that's what I say there. You are worthy of a great life filled with all the blessings that it holds. So you don't have to be lonely for a long time if you choose not to be. Because, like I said, here you can find somebody at this church and all Unity churches. And that's another thing I want to say is Unity, as far as a Christian church, is probably one of the very few that would say life and heaven can be attained right now. So, we're not living for a day in the future where everything's going to be great. We can have everything great right here and right now.
Yes.
Those blessings are here and now, not in some faraway place at some other time, which is true. And I hope that all of us can believe that, can come to that understanding that we can enjoy life. And even though I may get emotional about seeing something that reminds me of somebody I cared for, it doesn't mean that I'm being negative about the situation. Okay, so join your church community to build up your self-worth and grow your spiritual gifts the world needs, because the world does need each of us to express our spiritual gifts. And if we are not a part of that, as far as thinking we are part of the society, then we can be not sharing our spiritual gifts. But God created you to share those spiritual gifts with each of us, or with each other. So you're important to do that. So with that, God has blessed me with your presence today, and God bless you. Thank you for being here.